There it is. Welcome, everyone. This is episode 7 of the How to Be a Trophy Wife podcast. And today I have an amazing guest. I'm joined by Dr. David Kubes of Vienna, Austria. He is an amazing lawyer, he's an amazing access consciousness facilitator. And today I am so excited to have him on the podcast to talk about etiquette. So, welcome, David.
Thank you so much, Julia, for having me on here. What an interesting topic. One of my favorites.
Yes. Being a trophy wife is, if any of you are just stumbling upon this podcast, how to be a trophy wife, like what is that? Basically, what we're doing here on this podcast is taking this idea of a woman who is basically a dumb young woman who marries an older man who has a lot of money and doesn't have to do anything. And we're actually flipping it on its head and going, okay, what is the different possibility? This different possibility was inspired by Mr. Gary Douglas, the founder of Access Consciousness. And basically, he's like, what if you could actually be a gift or a trophy to everyone in your life? And what if you didn't have to work so hard? What if you could receive? And how can you, embody that magic that you are to actually enjoy your life and receive in the ways that are very judged, such as being a trophy wife? So if you're just coming on, that's the essence of the podcast, the possibility of the podcast. And I'm so excited for your contribution today, David.
You're so welcome.
So, so I know you grew up in Austria. Did you grow up in the city of Vienna?
Yes, I grew up in Vienna.
Okay. And you were from like a middle class Viennese family, is that correct?
Very middle class, yes.
Very middle class. Okay. And so etiquette and elegance and those things weren't necessarily something that you grew up around. That's something you actually have taken on, enjoyed, taught yourself, read about, chosen.
Well, I actually observed people, I saw it. Vienna is not a very big city. Vienna is a very wealthy city. And it's for centuries been kind of the center of etiquette and the center of event.
Yeah.
All these big balls, all big conventions. For centuries, Vienna was the place for elegantly socializing. If you were meant to be part of the society in this 18th, 19th century, you had to present yourself in Vienna. And we have a very, very old tradition, the ball season. If you ever watch Bridgerton, you get an idea of what Vienna is as well. From November until March is the ball season,
It's
which
long.
everywhere, every weekend there is a ball, and there is this, you have to go, you have to present yourself. And actually I learned etiquette in school. We have to go through ballroom dancing training. That's mandatory. And if you want to be part of society, you can be part of the opening ceremony of all these elegant balls, and then you have to have a certain etiquette education. And this is why I learned it and where I could experience it. And being at all these balls, I mean, the free ticket to one of these balls, they were really expensive, $200-300 to get in. I couldn't afford it as a student. But if you were part of the opening ceremony, you got to stay for free. And
Neat.
this is where I observed and why I learned all this, and where I actually discovered that etiquette is based on kindness, on honoring someone. All the etiquette was designed, how can I honor the woman I am with today? And I can tell you one thing about the trophy wife. A lot of trophy wives attended these balls or actually organized these balls. And when you said it's not a lot of work, oh my God, there is a lot of organization in the back end. The trophy wives that I know, and it's a highly honored. I have my deepest respect of women who dedicate all their magic, their powers, their abilities to actually support their husband in the way the husband needs to be supported, there's a lot of organization in the back end going on. This is how I experienced trophy
Yes.
wives in elegant Vienna.
Amazing. So what was it like? I just want to go back for 1 second. What was it like taking before you got to the balls in school? What were the dance classes like? How did that work?
Well, you had to go to dancing school, and you literally learned etiquette. You learned how to greet a woman. You learned how to invite the woman. You learned the technique of dancing. But I also learned how can I invite a lady to a dance? How can I present myself? How do I treat her? Everything. The dancing classes. It's not just let's have a dance. It's the whole thing that you have to pick up the lady from her home. You have to open the door. You have to help her with the code. There are situations where lady goes first, but there are also situations where you go first. For example, when you ladies first, when you go into a restaurant and you made the reservation, you go into the restaurant first so that the person welcoming you doesn't embarrass the lady because she doesn't know what reservation you made. She doesn't know what was organized. So it's all about caring about and honoring the person you are with so that they actually have a great time, and you as well, because it is an honor that a lady accepts your invitation to go out. So
Oh,
both is just based on this incredible way of, wow, we get to spend amazing time together. Let me honor you. And very important, I know that the ladies, the girls in class had to learn to receive. I grew up in this, emancipation age where women thought they have to do everything
yeah.
themselves. And I remember that the dancing instructor, he always said, it's not about that you cannot do it. It's about that you don't have to do it because someone else wants to do it for you. So they literally were teaching the girls to receive, which a lot of them resisted because it was just the beginning of emancipation. um,
That's so interesting. So can I ask, how were you taught to ask a lady to the dance? What is like what's that
the
about?
way so first of all, you have eye contact, and if a lady lowers her head, it doesn't mean don't even ask me.
That's
So
what that means.
that was the first thing you have. I would say you have to be present. Today you would say probably be aware of read the room or be aware of what's going on. So if you look at someone with this excitement of, oh, may I approach you, and that person looks down, it means please don't. But
Okay.
if that lady kind of responds to your look, but just keeping looking at you without looking down, that means, well, I'm open for an invitation. And you go and then you said, may I ask you for a dance? That's
Wow.
how you go.
Okay.
And the
That
etiquette actually says that as a woman, you cannot really say no unless you have promised a dance to someone else. And then the
okay.
woman has to say, I'm so sorry, but I've always already promised the next dance to someone else. So that's kind of this very honoring, honoring way of communication. Um, and then you, of course, you guide the lady to the dance floor. You offer the hand. When you give the old-fashioned hand kiss, you never kiss the skin. You just get close to it, and then you just as a man will in ballroom dancing you have to lead, which is also very interesting. The most difficult part in ballroom dancing is to find a woman that allows herself to be led. The ballroom dancing, whether you go left, whether you go right, what kind of next step you make, it's this total is actually really beautiful. And now talking about it, I was like, wow, this was just so, it was like going back in a different traveling back in time. And it was, I mean, we were all 16, 17 years old, but I remember all these balls were full. People really enjoyed it, although it was considered so old-fashioned.
yeah. Yeah.
We really enjoyed it. And it was more like a game, the game you play, like you know it from old movies, where you also use this polite way of talking and, a lot of gesture and body language is involved.
It's
It's very
really lovely.
nurturing.
Yes. Yes, I would love to be a part of that world. In fact, one of my dreams is to build a big house with a ballroom in it, like the Vanderbilts or it like these I would love to have that one day. That's something I'm asking for
Well,
because
why are you not coming to Vienna next ball season? And I'll take
okay,
you to one of the very nice balls.
really, I would accept your offer. Thank you.
I'm very delighted. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's just fascinating to me. It's not something that I grew up around, but it's just as I have done more access consciousness and become more aware of who I am as a being, it's something that's really special to me. It's something that I really want in my life that wasn't anywhere. I'm not exposed to it. Growing up in Canada and America, I just get to see it on TV shows. So,
It's
yeah.
not too late. You're so young. You can still
Yes.
come.
I was very excited. Thank you. And it's interesting, Anthony, for those of you who don't know, my husband's name is Anthony, and David knows him very well, and they're good friends. And Anthony and I started taking ballroom dancing lessons recently, but it's every month there's a new theme. We've only been there for salsa themes so far, but Anthony has to lead, and it's actually not as hard for me as it would have been 5 years ago or 10 years ago. Like, I actually am more willing to be led, but it used to be very hard for me. Extremely hard, everything was about, you have to be independent, you have to have a career, you have to be your own person, you know what I mean? And not receive.
And I also think with all this emancipation, it somehow got lost. But what I learned and what I experienced is it's just another ability, or you're not giving yourself up if you allow someone else to take care of you. And if it's just, and that's why I think it really worked well at these balls, because everybody looks at it like a game. It's like this fairy tale that you play, that game that you participate in. And I could see, I mean, they are very, very prominent female leaders. There were politicians, there are bank directors. But when you saw them in the ballroom where they beautifully played that game of allowing someone to honor them, it was incredibly nurturing. So these, leaders, female leaders, they did receiving really well. It was really beautiful to watch, and today it still is, because people know, I don't want to say to play the game. They actually know that's part of everything you can enjoy. You can be the really tough businesswoman leading a bank with 6,000 employees, and you can be received and be taken care of by a gentleman who just likes to honor you and take care of you during a ballroom dance, during an evening. It's very nurturing. It's not giving anything up. It's actually adding something to your life, the ability to receive. And I would love to see more of that.
Yeah, me too. It's as you're talking about those ladies, it's actually like twisting something in my brain because don't know I don't know that I know more than just a couple examples of people who are leaders in the world and also receiving in that way. It's something that I've been working on forever, and it's taken me a long time to even start to like have the idea that it can even be possible. So I love that
Well,
example.
there's a beautiful tool you can actually use that I use a lot, and
Please.
that's very easy. Just because you can doesn't mean you have to. So you
I love
can
that.
take care of yourself. You can, but you don't have to. You
I
can
love
might as well enjoy something different. And if you look at it from that point of view, you're not giving anything up. You're just adding to your life.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So, uh, Dave and I were talking before the show, and I was talking to him about a call that I was on with you, David, on etiquette, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And I think about it often, and I think about how you were talking about etiquette in a restaurant situation, in a like a fine dining situation. And you were talking about how the man lets the woman walk in first, and he helps her with her coat, and lets her sit first. And in these restaurants, often there aren't prices on the woman's menu. And I remember people talking about, I remember when I first heard about restaurants where there weren't prices on the women's menu, and the person that I was with, I must have been a teenager, some adult that I was with was just like, that is so rude, and how could you do that to a woman? And I was like, oh, okay. And you talked about it more based on the truth of what it's actually meant to create. And so I would love for you to talk about that, because the other people that were on your class were also hearing this information for the first time. This is like very revolutionary to those of us who this isn't normal to. So I would love for you to talk a little bit about, how does restaurant etiquette work, and what is it designed to create? What is that nurturance?
Well, the restaurant etiquette is literally based on a gentleman taking a woman out to dinner. That's an invitation, and you should treat your guest with respect. The etiquette now is different when a woman invites a man. But it's still, when a woman invites a man, it still includes this, okay, I allow you to take care of me, because this is what it was usually designed for. Gentleman invites a woman. As I said, when the man makes the reservation, you allow the woman to go first. But when you go into the restaurant, you go in first, because you have the reservation. That's the only difference, where you go in first when you enter the restaurant. You also, a woman should wait and sit in the car until the gentleman walks around and opens the door. I see so many women, the car stops and they jump out. They don't even give you the chance.
Right.
So that someone opens the door and helps you, because normally the woman has a long, nice evening dress. It's not about, you want to take care of the clothes, you want to take care of the woman. It's honoring that you have the privilege to have this person as your guest, and you want to be kind and nurturing. Also, when you walk to the table, you allow the woman to choose the seat. When a woman approaches a table, the man at the table stand up, just to honor her and say, welcome. You stand up when a woman enters the room. You stand up when a woman comes later to the table, but only the man, just in order to show, well, you are here, we honor you, we respect you. It's more
Can
from a game. It doesn't.
Yeah. So, what's the etiquette in modern times if, let's say, my husband and I are out eating and some of our friends come into the restaurant, like, say, another man and woman come into the restaurant that are our friends? Does he stand up? Do I stand up? What do you do
No,
in that
the woman,
situation?
no. You are in a restaurant with Anthony, you already sit, and then the other couple comes in. Anthony stands up and greets the woman first. You always greet the woman first. You shake hands first, you say hello first, woman first. And in order to shake hands, you have to stand up. You, as the other woman, you sit down. You don't stand up, because you're the other woman. So Anthony would stand up, greet her first, indicate where she should sit. A man who is actually inviting to a dinner should have an idea where to put the people, so you can actually lead the table, and
Mm,
you show the woman first, and then you turn to the other male, say hello, and then that man takes the seat that's left, or they choose where they want to sit. And it's most of this is designed not to create some kind of uncomfort or embarrassment. A lot of this
yeah.
etiquette was designed in a time where etiquette was used to create connections, yeah, to make business, and you were setting up this whole atmosphere of etiquette in order to impress, to honor. It was a lot about business. Even marriage was more based on, do I marry someone who, the old royal families, they did, um, they actually enlarged their land, their power through marriage. So
Yep.
marriage, most of the marriages weren't designed based on love. They were designed on a pragmatic marriage. You own this piece of land, I own this piece of land. Let's marry our son and our daughter, so we have a bigger piece of land and can produce more. It was very pragmatic.
Yeah.
And this is where it all came from. And the idea was always, let's make sure that everybody really feels taken care of, and to not let any embarrassing situation occur. When someone doesn't know, or where do you want me to sit? Well, I am the guest here. You might have an idea where you want me to sit. So you need to always, as a gentleman, take the lead. And taking the lead means to be aware of what's going on. And the minute someone looks around or is somehow insecure, you immediately need to jump in and go, oh, would you like this? Can I take your coat? It's all this attention that you have to be aware all the time of what's going on, because you are hosting the dinner, you are hosting the whole event. And as a gentleman, you might have an idea where you would like the conversations to go, who talks to whom. It's like a strategic game in this. It doesn't have to be like that, but you could nowadays go, wait a minute, I have invited 6 friends. I would like to have a conversation with this particular person. I know that my wife enjoys talking with that person, so I will arrange they sit together. And sometimes you have to invite the partner, and then the partners might be this annoying person nobody wants to talk to. So strategically, and invite someone else annoying, and then you put them together. But then you have to arrange that they sit together. So it's kind of playing chess.
I love it. I think it's great. Wow. That's
I love it
great.
too. And speaking about a trophy wife, now you get why it is not doing nothing. As the wife of a very wealthy older man that has a lot of business partners, the trophy wife has to know everyone, has to arrange all of this, has to make sure that everything is organized so that the husband can be the gentleman. My point of view, being a trophy wife is like being the CEO of 3 different companies, because you have to lead your husband's company, you have to know everything, you have your own family, and you have the household. And it's a lot of work, a lot of strategic planning, a lot of entertainment, it's not doing nothing. If I can say one thing about that, it's not doing nothing. If you enjoy, I don't know, preparing parties, being a host, oh my God, beautiful, but it's a job. It's a full-time job. It's not doing nothing.
Absolutely right. I'm so glad that you're articulating this, because still in my mind, I had the idea that the trophy wife really sits back and relaxes. And I just love what you're saying, because it is absolutely true. And it gives me more ideas about other things I want to add in that area of my life. So that's really cool.
Yeah,
Um,
you should host a gala dinner at your house, invite, I don't know, people your husband works with, and then see how you need to strategically plan ahead. You need to know what food
yeah,
allergies they have, what they like to eat, what they not like to eat, the wine, the water, the conversations. There are some no-go conversations in every friendship circle or in every business. You need to be able to guide all this and divert conversations when you see, all this, they're starting to get into an argument. It is so much more than doing nothing.
that's so wonderful. My sister lives in Los Angeles, and she um, married a man, and he has a beautiful house and garden in Los Angeles. And so she does a lot of hosting there, and hers is much more modern, but she hosts parties. Sometimes she does like paid supper clubs for women's groups, and then she does conversation starters and does lead the conversation, and it's much more modern, but she says that people absolutely love it. Like they love being led. And she has been reading books about it, and just that we need to be a host. You can invite people over for brunch, and it's very relaxed. There's no seating. That's fine. That's lovely, and that's one way of doing it. It's very modern. But she was telling me about how much people appreciate the sort of the system, the movement, the leadership, and that they really always leave feeling so nurtured and so honored. And they, because of these conversation starters and these different things she does for the groups, they have the most phenomenal conversations and end up sharing really intimate things about themselves in front of new people, and developing really deep friendships right away.
Yeah, and you mentioned the conversation starters. One thing that we also got trained on, you need to pick some kind of artwork or objects that can be used as a conversation starter. when
You're
you have
kidding.
oh, yes, that's what you have. I have this in my office. This is the first thing I did. You need, when you're hosting an event with 15 people, they don't arrive all at the same time. But until everyone has arrived, have to make sure these people are having nurturing conversations. They're not standing there looking at each other because they don't know each other. So you put a piece of art that is probably something very modern or something really antique. And then when you come in, because you as the host, you always have to go out, you have to greet, you have to welcome everyone, you can't babysit them. So your job as a host is to prepare the room so this conversation can start. So what a trophy wife could do, buy a piece of art that is unique, that gives people a reason to have a conversation about it. That could start, wow, this is very interesting. Oh, what do you think? Where does it come from? And you as a host, you just drop a piece of information. Oh, have you seen this? This is from, I don't know, this is from Egypt. Wow. And then you just ramp up the conversation, and then you have time to go out, greet the next guest. And when you come back, they hopefully, if there's a gentleman around, still have something to talk about, to get introduced, but in a very kind way, so nobody somehow feels pressured or forced to talk. So objects are incredible. Objects, artwork is a great way as this, conversation starter item that you strategically place in certain situations so people have something to talk about. And then as a host, you need to know what are the guests interested in. You need to educate yourself about this art. It's a full-time job,
Wow.
if not two.
Wow. That's so thoughtful to make it easier for people.
That's it is. And the best parties and the best events are those where everybody was like, wow, this was so easygoing. If a party is easygoing, the host did an amazing job with thousands of things that you as a guest won't even notice. And that's one thing. And that's one thing that true amazing trophy fives need to acknowledge. They will not be acknowledged for what they've done because the guests won't notice. But that's the biggest
Right.
acknowledgement for having done a good job, that everybody just thinks it was so easy, so well organized. So don't, as a true trophy wife, you don't need acknowledgement for what you've done, because you know yourself that was a lot, but you don't wait for acknowledgement. You are acknowledged when other people don't notice it. I don't know if you get the
That's
concept.
wonderful. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Oh man, I could talk to you. I can't believe I've never had a podcast go by this fast. I don't know how that was 30 minutes.
do I talk too much?
You just talk about the most wonderful things. That's amazing. Thank you. Oh gosh. I'm just I would really, really like to. I'm so happy that we're having this conversation and the conversations that you continue to have about etiquette and about elegance and what it really, the purpose of all of it, which is honoring and nurturing and kindness, as you've said. And
Mhm.
it's a very lost. I mean, unless you're attending ball season in Vienna, it's a very lost, for the most part, art in the world. And it's considered antiquated, it's considered anti-feminist, and it's not any of those things. And it's one way that we can bring the honoring and the kindness to our lives and to the people in our life.
What you are doing with this podcast, I have to say, it's brilliant. I think this is what the world requires right now. And I can imagine that you are offending a lot of feminists out there, but invite even those to the idea of honoring and kindness. It was designed to be that. It was abused, through all this strict training and etiquette, and it was used to judge. But just because it has been that in the past doesn't mean that we have to live it as it was abused. So we can all start that new way of honoring interaction with each other, and your contribution to that future. Thank you so much, Julia. You're doing a
Wow.
brilliant. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much. Amazing. Wonderful. Well, thank you everyone who is listening in to this podcast, whether you're catching us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or YouTube or Facebook or who knows where. It's all over the place. And I'm so glad that you were here to listen. And I hope that you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. And thank you so much, David, for being a part of this and for your knowledge and wisdom and awareness.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.